Hello and what is up everyone, it is Hachi from the Art of Dota, and this is my patch analysis video for the gameplay update 7.17 for Dota 2, released on Sunday, June 10th, 2018. Apparently this release date is wrong, or whatever Valve, I think that's the date for last week's update, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, moving on to the item changes. Yule Scepter of Divinity is going to receive a slight nerf to its move speed. So the move speed is going to be reduced from 40 to 30. And this is just going to be a slight nerf to those heroes that are buying Yules right now, like the Linas and the Leshraks. And that's pretty much it. Otherwise, the item isn't really overpowered or anything like that. I think they just wanted to, reduce the movement speed bonus. And again, Lina and Lesh are like pretty fast heroes, and we've even seen some Linas, especially no one's Lina, we've just rushed straight Yules without even phase boots, and that is going to affect that build a little bit, taking 10 move speed away. Now going on to the next item, Moonshard. Night vision of Moonshard is going to get increased. As you didn't know, when you buy Moonshard, it actually gives you increased night vision if you hold it in your inventory, but also if you eat it. But when you eat it, it is halved. So for the night vision increase, it used to be 300 base and 150 consumed, but now it is increased to 400 base and 200 consumed. And with that, this item might actually be viable on heroes like Slark and Sniper that already have pretty good night vision. You buy Moonshard and you just have night vision goggles on. You buy the Moonshard, they should just be remodeled into some night vision goggles. You can see everything. But at the same time, do you really want to hold a Moonshard in your inventory? This item, for the most part, is reserved for people who already are 6 slotted, and you're going to just buy the Moonshard. But it's also going to be a nice buff up. You're going to get that 200 extra night vision when you do consume it in the late game. But if you're crazy enough and maybe you're snowballing, eat it for that 400. That is a full 100 night vision increase. And again, if you're sitting at the average 800 night vision, it's going to bring you up to 1200, which isn't half bad. But if you're already a hacks night vision hero like Slark Night Stalker, and you're going to go crazy, you're gonna have 2200 night vision. Too much vision. I don't even think you need that much. When is there just an open space in Dota that large where you can see 2,000 units away? I don't know. Anyway, that's going to be the change to Moonshard. Moving on to Refresher Orb, the recipe cost is going to be reduced from 1800 to 1700. A slight cost buff to Refresher Shard, going to reduce the overall cost to 5,100. Decent for the item, but again, it is very rarely picked up, and it won't really affect things too much. But for heroes that will buy Refresher, it's just going to make it easier for them to buy the item. But again, it's just 100 gold. Talisman Evasion is going to get its evasion reduced from 20% to 15%, which is somewhat significant as it's going to reduce the overall effective HP that you get from buying the item, but they're going to also reduce the cost from 1450 to 1400, just going to reduce it by 50 gold, which I don't think, that doesn't really make up for the fact that you lose 5% evasion. And they're also going to carry on the change over to Solar Crest, where Solar Crest now is going to have its base evasion reduced as well from 20% to 15%. Now moving on to the hero changes, and just scroll down to see how many there are. Seems like this is a light patch, as Valve has been saying that moving on to TI, they're not going to be doing any crazy major changes, So on the first hero, Abaddon, his talent's gonna get reworked around a little bit here. Level 10, his talent is gonna be 20% XP to 25% experience gain, which is pretty sick as a hero. We don't see him too much anymore in pubs. Players like Monkeys Forever and people like that, or Ags Mike will play Abaddon, but for the most part in Pro Dota, you don't see him because You know, most people either prefer Omni Knight. I actually don't think Abaddon is that bad, but they're going to give him these buffs here. Level 15, he's going to get plus 60 miss coil heal slash damage to plus 75. Just straight up talent buffs. Level 15, his other talent is going to be increased from 6 armor to 8 armor. So just overall talent buffs there to Abaddon. He's going to get more experience gains, so he can level up faster. And by the way, he has one of the best level 25 talents in the game. So, you know, that 5% extra experience gain, you know, going to help him out get to that point. But also, you know, you're going to buff his level 15 talent, so it kind of is an overall talent tree buff, as he's going to be able to level up faster if he does go for the experience gain, and then he's going to get these buffed up level 15 talents. Of course, his level 25 talent being one of the best talents in the game, with that aphotic shield health to the point where it was like broken at some point and had to be nerfed just slightly. But, you know, I don't think Abaddon was that bad overall as a hero, but I'm going to give him these slight buffs here, which I think is okay, because I think he's not bad, but he's not good enough to match up with some of the other offlaners. But in certain scenarios, I'm surprised he's not picked up more often, especially with how popular Bane is in the meta right now. But speaking of Bane, I see those nerfs. Anyway, moving on to Alchemist next. Chemical Rage is now going to apply a basic dispel on a cast, and this has been slowly buffing this guy every patch. Alchemist has just been buffed and buffed and buffed. You know, last week he got, or 2 weeks ago, he got Chemical Rage regen increased. You see that? He's been receiving some buffs to his Bounty rune, or his Grievous Greed Bounty rune multiplier. But now he's gonna have Dispel on his ultimate, so, you know, I don't know if it's gonna be too significant, because he kind of is like a Manta buyer anyway, but like now he'll have 2 forms of Dispel, I guess, or 3 if he has a BKB as well. I mean, we can save that Manta, but of course, if he's Silenced, he cannot Dispel. So, well, let's say he's Silenced, and he Dispels it with Manta, he gets debuffed by something else, like, I don't know, Slow, something like that, and you can Chemical Rage, get that off, and continue to fight. Oh, it's minor, but, and it is also only a basic Dispel, but, you know, another slight buff there to your boy Alchemist, as we do not see this guy at all. He's pretty much unpicked in Pro Dota. So, moving on to Ancient Apparition, he's going to have a level 10 talent buff of 60 gold per minute to 90, which is one of the supports that we don't see picked up too often. He's kind of a little bit clunky, because, you know, AA was really good in like tri-lane scenarios, because you just buff everyone up with the chilling touch, the chilly fingers, and you know, kill people. But now in the dual lane, you know, you don't get as much value out of it, and buffing up a talent like gold per minute didn't really change the fact that his laning stage is kind of clunky. So not too significant change to him, but, you know, when you do see Ancient Apparition, he's gonna be able to get more gold, and he is a hero that scales well with gold, so say he utilized that gold per minute increase pretty well. There's, you know, that's gonna be faster Ags, faster Midas, or whatever you want to go. You know, Anti-Mage is gonna get a base damage increase by 2, which, you know, for Anti-Mage, does that really matter? But I say that's going to improve his laning just that slightly, but I think that's going to make a difference overall, as, you know, this hero's laning is relatively important, as it's going to be the decider of how fast he gets, you know, his first farming item, his Battle Fury, and increasing his base damage by 2. And I believe they lowered his base attack time to be the same as Jugs in the last patch, and making Anti-Mage more viable, because right now I don't see Anti-Mage be played by anybody except sometimes in pubs, and usually it just ends in my team losing unless it's Van. That guy is a god on AM. Now moving on to Bane, they're going to take away 2 damage from Bane, his base damage reduced by 2, and his Brain Sat mana cost increased by 20 at level 1, 15 at level 2, 10 at level 3, and 5 at, oh yeah, it was reading around 5 at level 4. And so early game nerf to the mana at level 4, it's going to be pretty much the same. It's kind of weird that they scale it like that. I feel like they could have evenly scaled it, but I guess now it's not as big of a nerf as it could be, right? But either way, I believe I'm a Bane player, but I would say 70 mana cost for such a good spell, Brain Stab. That's 75 pure damage, 75 heal at level 1 was a little bit too much, and I believe it used to be more, and they nerfed it, or they buffed it to 70. Now they're gonna move it to 90 again. They're gonna reduce his overall damage. It's gonna just weaken Bane's laning stage. Past the laning stage, he's still gonna do the same thing, but this is why why the hero is being picked right now. The reason why he's being picked right now is because of his insanely strong zoning capabilities, and this is just going to affect that. He's gonna have less brain saps to spam. He spams a bunch of brain saps. That 20 increase is eventually going to be that he's gonna get one less brain sap. That might be the difference between a kill. Less damage as well. 2 less doesn't seem like much, but add up, right? And considering like how many times he's sending out harass in the laning stage. Now for Beastmaster, he's also going to receive a slight nerf here to his armor, which I would say is relatively significant, because now he's sitting at only 2 armor where he used to have 4, which was not the best, but it was okay. It allowed him to trade very effectively, as he's like one of the highest base damages in the game for a melee hero. And of course he's no Treant, but he was hitting pretty hard and he would trade extremely efficiently. But now having 2 less armor, that will affect his trading capabilities. He might even decide to buy a casual ring of armor, ring protection in the early game. Maybe build that into a Vlad's later on, to account for this, because again, it's gonna have his armor from before. Bristleback going to get a change to vicious nasal goo, which now has a -2 base armor reduction. And what did it used to be? It doesn't even say, but I'm assuming that's a buff. So now base armor reduction is 2, and of course that will increase per stack, and of course that scales as you level it up. I still think this hero is pretty awful, but you're just gonna get slightly more minus armor. It's gonna help you out, when going for kills, but you don't level this skill until really later on. And also, for roaching, it's gonna just be a slight buff there, but I still think Bristleback, not really a hero. It's also a hero that's pretty much unpicked right now. Clinks is gonna get a base armor increase by 1, and this hero has been getting some buffs as well throughout all the patches. Also a hero that is pretty much unpicked. Strafe dodge now works against non-player units, so that means jungle creeps, overall any creeps like Beastmaster creeps, but of course it has to be ranged units and or creeps with abilities that are projectiles. Strafe attack speed is also increased from 80 to 110 at level 1, 140 to 160 at level 2, 200 to 210 at level 3, and it's going to stay the same at level 4, which means that it's just an overall buff to the early game of Strafe, first few levels of it. But for the most part, people are maxing out the ability, but this is just going to make early game Clinks, early level Clinks just a little bit stronger, and that's where his weakness lie, is he's extremely weak in the laning stage if he's just getting aggro lane. People pick Clinks in pubs and it works out. They climb MMR with the hero because he isn't abused the way he should be, and that's why in Pro Dota you never see the hero, because when people see a Clinks, they're gonna know, okay, just put 2 heroes in his lane, put 2 strong heroes in his lane, and he really can't do much because he can trade extremely effectively against 1 hero, especially if he has a support with him, with his searing arrows at level 1. But against 2 heroes, no way. He's squishy, glass cannon. They're gonna out damage him because he's single target, and with that, he really can't lane properly. Moving on to Clockwork, he's gonna have a base damage reduction of 4. His damage is actually pretty high, and that allowed him to control the lane, and especially as an offlaner, I've seen Clockwork just destroy. His animation is pretty solid as well for Clockwork, able to just hit all those denies and get his CS easily. And this is gonna be a, I would say, pretty major nerf to Clockwork's laning stage, especially to Clockwork off lane. But at least for Roman Clockwork, it's not gonna affect him too much. Crystal Maiden is going to have a buff to Crystal Nova, with Crystal Nova cooldown being reduced from 12 seconds to 11 seconds at level 1, and then 11 to 10, just overall 1 second off of the cooldown throughout all levels. And now the talent, level 15 talent, is going to be changed from 120 gold per minute to 150 gold per minute, an increase there, and that talent is pretty clutch as Crystal Maiden scales insanely well with items. The other talent there, which is the mana cost and mana loss reduction aura, is solid as well if you do have like a Storm or maybe Tinker or something like that on your team. Otherwise, you go for that GPM, get that BKB Aghanims, and you're a monster in team fights. So you're actually a hero that cannot be ignored. But at the same time, how many heroes have an ability that go through BKB? So usually the enemy will just decide to take a fight. They don't think about the Crystal Maiden, and you just can just wipe the enemy team if they don't have their BKBs anymore, or they don't have BKBs in the first place. And the cooldown reduction, not too major, but that's going to mean that you're just going to be able to cast more spells in the fight, because that's how Crystal Maiden works. You kind of cast your spells, then hide in the fight, and then go back out and cast your spells. But with 8 seconds on Crystal Nova, it's relatively spammable now. Just 1 second decrease, but consider how a team fight works. That's going to be 1 less second that you can go back in and slow people, and that can be game changing. Dark Willow, Bramble Maze cooldown reduced 40 seconds to 34 at level 1, 35 to 31 at level 2, 30 to 28, and it's going to receive the same cooldown at level 4, 25. So again, early levels of Bramble Maze being buffed. Saw that with the the Clinks as well, but now with Dark Willow too. The talent change is going to be level 10 talent increase from 20 damage to 30. I don't know if you can go for that talent, so I would say that really matters at all. But the Bramble Maze cooldown again, it's going to make her a stronger early game hero. That's a whole 6 seconds cooldown reduction level 1. So level 2 Dark Willow with Bramble Maze, it's just going to be less useless. As before, like, that was such a long cooldown. If you look at her other abilities as well, Shadow Realm was on 30-second cooldown, so she was kind of just a right clicker. She has really good basic attack time. Her damage isn't the best, but she kind of just right clicked in the early game. Otherwise, her cooldowns were so long that she wouldn't be able to contribute to lane too much. But now with this, still high cooldown, but it's gonna make it a little bit better. Moving on to Death Prophet, Exorcism Spirits now have a spawn interval increase from 0.3 to 0.35, which means that it just takes them a little bit longer to come out. So initially, when she just pops the Exorcism, she's not going to start doing insane amount of damage that right away, which means that you have a potential to maybe go in and just all in on her, burst her before she starts doing a ton of damage to everyone, and you have to back off or die. So I would say that's pretty insignificant nerf to Death Prophet. Disruptor is going to have his Thunderstrike cooldown increased from 15 seconds level 1 to 18, 13 to 15 at level 2, 11 to 12, and then it's going to be the same 9 seconds at level 4, nerfing his early game effectively, especially as he's going to leave Thunderstrike on level 1, and they recently also just increased it. They're going to further increase it, making Disruptor's early game even worse. And I don't know if that's warranted. I don't think Disruptor is OP or anything like that, but that's gonna suck for the hero. I mean, he's gonna be almost absolutely useless in the laning stage, which before it was 12 seconds for Thunderstrike. Now it's 18, which you guys might think, okay, 6-second increase. How much is that? I mean, when you're considering that's full 6 seconds of just not being able to, be effective in the laning stage at all at level 1, that's full 6 seconds the enemy team has to just last hit and deny without having to worry about the harass damage from Thunderstrike. So it's pretty major. Moving on to Earthshaker, his Echo Slam now has 100 initial damage again. They removed that at some point, but now Earthshaker is completely dumpster tier as a hero. So again, his laning stage is super weak, and we're not roaming boys anymore with support Earthshaker, and core Earthshaker just doesn't feel the best. Again, because I would say his laning is weak. It's just comes online kind of slow. Needs that Blink Dagger, but I actually don't even think he's that bad of a hero. But they're gonna give him a slight buff here, because having that form of instant initiation is always gonna be value to your team. But now people are favoring other stunners, other initiators like Sand King instead, because they have a better laning stage than Earthshaker. Earthshaker doesn't have a bad laning stage, but is not as good as a Sand King, and they don't really need a Blink Dagger to come online. You can see Sand Kings forgo Blink, but Earthshaker really cannot go without Blink at all. Enchantress, Nature's Attendant, cooldown going to be reduced. It's going to get reduced again. Yeah. No, the mana cost is reduced. Now the cooldown is reduced from 45 to 35, and slight buff to the ability there. 10 seconds where you're gonna have Nature's Attendant up, where you'll be not unkillable, but you're be able to turn a gank, or just be able to pop it and run away. Enchant slow is also rescaled, gonna be from 3 to 3.75 at level 1, 4 to 4.5 at level 2, 5 to 5.25, and it's just be the same 6 seconds. So not changing the hero when she is maxed out, but again, buffing her early game. They're doing this with a lot of heroes, and this hero is also completely garbage tier, and I don't know if this is gonna make the difference, honestly. She's, after they nerfed her in terms of, I forgot what they actually did to her, but I believe it was something with her damage output, and then in addition to what they did to her enchant overall, gonna make the cooldown a lot higher at level 1, I believe. She doesn't feel as effective as both an offlaner and a roamer. Now Chen is straight up better than Enchantress, and I don't know if giving her a little bit extra slow and lower cooldown on Nature's Attendant is gonna change anything. Enigma. Demonic Conversion mana cost is going to get reduced from 170 at all levels to 140, and scaling up by 10 per level, and going back to 170 at level 4. Demonic Conversion Eidolon HP regen is also going to be increased from 0.25 to 4. And that's actually very, very significant. Now, Enigma, I don't think this hero is that bad at all, but having 4 HP regen on your Eidolons means that they're going to be very hard to focus down as long as you have proper micro. Kind of being a little bit like Broodmother Spiders almost, and in addition to the mana cost reduction for that, you're going to just have more demonic conversions to use before you have to, clarity, soul ring by mana boots, etc. So I think this is a pretty significant buff to Enigma. If you know what you're doing, these demonic conversions, again, if you keep your demonic conversions alive with this extra regen, they're going to multiply, and then their damage output is going to be pretty significant. Carries can't ignore it, and eventually take a bunch of harassment. You keep that one extra Eidolon alive because of this HP regen increase. That's going to multiply. That's going to be 2 Eidolons, and that's going to be an insane amount of harass damage coming out from the Enigma offlaners. So pretty good to see there. Oh, look at Io. Anyway, Gyrocopter, level 15 talent change from 3 flat cannon attacks to plus 0.5 second homing missile stun duration. Ooh, man. What That's gonna suck. So he's no longer gonna have that buff up to his huge, team fight, item, or not item, ability, his flat cannon. That's 3 extra attacks when you're talking about a gyrocopter that has, maxed out items or rapiers. That's a significant amount of damage. But now that's completely taken away. He does get a missile stun duration, but that ability honestly is pretty awful, right? And it kind of synergizes with his level 25 talent of 3 homing missiles. But your boy Gyro, that's a big hit to his level 15. And homing missile, what is the stun duration now? It's going to be 3.5. 3.5 when he's maxed it out. But that's going to suck. And in addition, his level 20 talent's going to get nerfed as well. 45 move speed, now 40 move speed. Oh boy. Now I'd say it's the biggest nerfs to Gyro, but I don't think it's warranted. The hero's not that good. What are you doing? Oh, that sucks for Gyrocopter. It's going to make him scale worse, and I think it just overall makes him a worse hero. So we'll see what happens to Gyrocopter. But he is being picked right now, but I don't think he's that good. His win rate isn't the best. I don't know why they touch him like that. Anyway, Huskar is going to get a level 25 talent change from 0 inner vitality cooldown, which is kind of a meme, to Burning Spears, pierces spell immunity as well as being peer damage, and the other level 25 change of being increased attack range, 125 attack range to 150. But this is big. The peer damage on the Burning Spears as well as piercing spell immunity. That was one of the weakness of Huskar, is he did primarily magic damage. So if you got like a bunch of magic resistance with a pipe, or have a BKB, his damage output is significantly reduced. And Huskar is a hero that does hit level 25 relatively fast because he snowballs hard, but then falls off if he cannot actually end the game. But this is going to be a significant damage buff up for late game Huskar if it gets to that point. It's still not an ideal scenario. Ideally, he just ends the game before he even gets to level 25. But again, if it does get to that point, significant buff to the hero, who is kind of garbage right now, and it is for the same reasons as Clinks in a pub where people are doing who knows what. When Huskar gets a free farm lane, he's gonna own. But when you dual lane against him, you put aggression in his lane at all, he cannot handle it. And I still think that's not going to change. I don't think he's going to be seen in Pro Dota too much, but this is going to be a big buff up to the hero in the late game for his level 25 talent change here. Invoker is going to have a Cataclysm max spread distance from 220 to 200, which I think that means that they're going to be a little bit closer together, the Sun Strikes, which means that when he uses it, there's a higher chance of someone getting hit by multiple, pretty sure. So it's just a slight buff there to Invoker, who doesn't feel too good right now. First off, is weak laning, but also takes a little bit too long to scale. But just buffing up that ability potentially can mean that he gets a refresher shard or refresher orb. He can make some insane combos and has maybe just one shot some heroes with Cataclysm. Okay, what did they do to Io here? Last week's nerfs was not enough. I gotta say, last week's nerfs were not enough. And so they're not even gonna touch too much about the hero here. Not too much at all, honestly. So spirit damage going to get significantly decreased. Spirit damage gonna get significantly decreased. At level 1, going from 25 to 20, level 2, 50 to 40, and this is scaling decrease. You don't see this too much. The hero is broken, so you can see the scaling decrease. 75 to 60 at level 3, and then 100 to 20 at level 4. So now it starts at 20 and only scales by 20 at every level. So it goes 20, 40, 60, 80, and 20 decrease at level 4 doesn't seem like much, but you gotta keep in mind that's 5 spirits. 5 spirits, 20 per spirit. That is going to be a whole 100 damage decrease for spirits when you do max them out. Of course, Io still has its Spirits buff talent, but this is what I theorized they would do to Spirits. They're going to either decrease the slow or they're going to decrease the damage, because the damage is ridiculous. Level 4 Spirits just pwn people. That's 100 damage per Spirit with 5 Spirits. That's 500 damage. You could potentially hit someone with 10 Spirits consecutively if you preloaded your Spirits. So that's 1,000 damage. Now that's going to reduce down to 800 damage, which is actually still a lot. But again, not as ridiculous. Some heroes are going to be able to get away on 100 HP now, which as an IO that's trying to carry the game, that's going to hurt you. But as an IO that is playing with his teammates, again, this is what I theorized that's going to happen to IO. IO is going to get nerfed in sense to pubs, but when he's still put in a coordinated team environment, like in Pro Dota, he's still going to be broken. Expect this hero to still receive first bans. And we're going to see that there with Tether as well. Move speed reduced from Tether from 7% to 5% level 1, 10 to 8 at level 2, 13 to 11 at level 3, and 16 to 14 at level 4. Overall, Tether movement speed nerf. And keep in mind, if you guys don't know about the history of IO, this used to be 20 at level 1 and at all levels. And that's why no one leveled up Tether back, unless you're talking about when it had Tether stun and the Tether stun scaled. That was a whole different era of OPness. But now, again, not going to affect you too much, as that movement speed buff was appreciated, but you're usually playing Io with a hero that already moves pretty fast, like a Gyro or a Luna, and this change not going to be too significant, I would say. Talent is going to get changed as well, from 60 damage to 45 damage at level 10. A lot of times people would even just skip this over. I really like the 60 damage talent in some games where I just want to be real greedy and just like jungle. And it definitely increases your farm speed significantly. Overall, you can either go the experience gain or you can just get more farm with the level 60 talent. That's how I looked at it. And the level 20 talent is also going to get nerfed from 20 health regen to 15, which doesn't even make sense. Like, now I think this is, you just even don't go this talent, because 5 HP regen decrease, just go for the GPM, buy an item that's going to give you more HP regen. I don't know what's the deal here. That is just strange, but this is what I predicted would probably happen to Hero, and is what happened. But overall, slight nerf again to pub IO. You're gonna be less effective in your carry potential in the game, I guess. But overall, if you're playing with coordinated teammates, and at my level, if I'm queuing into high level games, it's not gonna affect me at all when I play the hero. So I still think the hero is just as good. Again, they're gonna of course have to hit it, because 57% win rate in Divine 5 pubs and Immortal pubs, and probably even higher when you're talking about just Immortal. So that's a little bit more than last week, where it's just a 10 move speed nerf, but still nothing realistically. Anyway, Juggernaut gonna get a base armor increase by 1. Slight buff there to his survivability early on. And again, it's going to affect his trading, which as a hero like Juggernaut is going to be a pretty good lating stage buff there to him. Keeper of the Light Chakra Magic no longer has a mana cost, which is significant. Now he doesn't have to, sometimes you run out of mana to cast Chakra Magic, and it sucks, and you can't give yourself mana. Now that problem is going to get solved. It's, not really a major buffer like that, but it just makes it nice. It just feels nice. Wow, I don't have to use mana to cast Chakra Magic. I don't have to use mana to give mana. Anyway, moving on to Leshrac. This guy has been getting nerfed. What did they do to him? Lightning Storm cast range gonna be reduced again to 650 at all levels now. Doesn't even scale anymore. Pretty big nerf to him, that in terms of his chasing capabilities. Used to have that 800 range when maxed out. Now it's only 650. He's not gonna have the reach. Leshrac gonna get nerfed in that sense. Keep in mind, they also nerfed his Yule Scepter by 10 move speed. Moving on to Lich, a hero that I feel like had potential but still sucks. Let's see what it did to him. Frost Blast attack slow increased from -20 to -30. The cooldown has also been reduced from 8 to 7, so it's even more spammable. And also the level 10 talent has gone from 175 health to 200 health. Does this make Lich viable? I don't know, but I think that buff to Frost Blast is going to make that ability even more annoying in the laning stage. And I'm theorizing a build with Lich here where you just max out the Frost Blast. Don't go for the sacrifice, because sacrifice doesn't matter too much. Because again, you're sacrificing one creep, but also by just being a Lich with only sacrifice, you're not putting pressure on the lane, so the enemy is probably just going to end up denying creeps themselves, which nullifies the effectiveness of sacrifice, because one deny is 75% of a sacrifice, right? Sacrifice removes 100% of the experience. A deny removes 75%. So would you rather have a hero that will secure your offlaner or yourself to deny, like a Bane, or a hero that guarantees just one deny? Usually you rather have a hero that secures potentially 1, 2, 3, 4 denies per wave than just guarantee yourself one deny and then just be a useless range creep. So that's why Lich is not good. Now moving on to Lycan. Feral Impulse. Now if you're playing at lower MMR, Lich is probably OP, by the way, because people aren't going to be able to deny, and the fact that you can guarantee a deny is actually insane. But that's just a aside there. Now Lycan, Feral Impulse damage going to get reduced from 15 to 12% at level 1, 26 to 24, level 2, 37 to 36, and they're staying the same, 48 at level 4. Early game nerf to Feral Impulse. Now, again, they're doing with a lot of heroes, making his first couple levels a little bit weaker in terms of his damage output, his deny capabilities, his last hitting capabilities, etc. Magnus going to get a base strength increase by 1. Wow. Skewer Slow going to get increased from 2.5, scaling 2.753 to 3.25 to just a flat 3.25. So you're going to get the same slow with level 1 Skewer than you did with max Skewer previously. Shockwave damage has also been increased 75 to 90 at level 1, 150 to 160 at level 2, 225, 230 at level 3, and staying the same 300 when maxed out. Early game buffs to Magnus. That slow is going to be huge because you're going to be able to just potentially just look for kills. Skewer into someone, slow them, attack them, hit them with a shockwave. Slightly buff damage shockwave. He gets that 1 extra strength as well. It's 1 extra damage, a little bit more health. Magnus felt like a weak laner. He felt like he potentially could be a good hero, but laning stage, not so good for him. Unless it was like a 1v1 lane where he's able to just empower and farm. But now they're going to increase his kill potential here. And I think that might make the hero viable in some sense. Now some teams are already playing him, like Mineski, Ice Magnus being a classic, but we'll see. For Meepo, this hero is not very good. I know some people, I think I saw him Dota buff. Oh, Meepo, biggest winner of last patch. Wow, he can now reveal invis. His net is going to move faster, but this hero is still effectively not very good because of the fact that he really needs to slow ball. He falls off incredibly hard in the late game. He has so many counters that he has to worry about, and because of all the nerfs to him recently, he isn't able to be as ridiculous, and mainly his talent nerfs. Before, he had like GG talents. You literally just AFK farm, you get his talent, and then the game is over. You're pretty much unkillable. The game is over. If you give Meepo free farm, he's like a ticking time bomb. Now that is no longer the case, and this is not going to change any of that. His base armor increased by 2. He's just going to be a slightly tankier. It's going to improve his laning stage. Allow him to jungle without taking as much damage, but overall, still the same issues. Mirana, level 25 talent, gonna be from negative 80-second Moonlight Shadow cooldown reduction to negative 75. That's going to give you a little bit more of a window where everyone is just not invis, but it's seemed a little bit ridiculous, I guess, to Ice Frog or whoever is doing these balance. So now, see, 75. Wait. There you go, 75. So that is going to last 18 seconds. It has a 100-second cooldown, 25. So that is going to be 7 seconds. where you don't have Moonlight Shadow, if I did the math right. Did I do the math right? Well, before it was 80, so it was only 2 seconds. So a 5-second increase in terms of the downtime that you have between Moonlight Shadows. I mean, that's level 25 talent. That's not going to change too much. And being invis almost all the time to not quite. You got 7 seconds where you're not invis. Does that really make that big of a difference? Could if the enemy doesn't have a gem, but usually when you see Mirana go for that talent, you're going to have a gem. You're going to have detection everywhere anyway. But again, it really matters like in the fringe of the fight where everyone's invis and then suddenly it's like your carry versus like a support or something, and then the carry obviously not going to be holding the gem because they're 6 slotted, and all of a sudden they just get away. That's where it's going to make the difference there. Naga Siren, selling the Siren mana cost increased from 100 to 150 level 1, 150 to 120 or 175 at level 2, and then 200 staying the same at level 3. Use small nerf there to Naga Siren's mana cost. And it's not like she's super mana dependent hero or anything like that, but you know, maybe this is gonna hurt her if she doesn't go for a mana item like a mana boots or something like that. But overall, 50 mana increase to an ability that has such a long cooldown, not too significant. It might make the difference. Again, if she doesn't have mana, no magic wand, no mana regen item, and she might not have enough mana. She might not have that 150 at level 1 to cast her song. So, could be a game changer, but at the same time, not too significant. Necrophos, this hero has been put in a dumpster. Have they brought him out? It does not look like it, as his level 15 talent is going to be increased 16% Ghost Shroud slow to 20% Ghost Shroud slow. That's going to be it for that. 4% increase in the slow of Ghost Shroud, not too significant. Who uses that ability for the slow anyway? Level 25 talent, going to have a negative 1.5 second Death Pulse cooldown to negative 2.5 seconds. His level 25 talent is going to be changed from 0.6 Heartstarter Aura to 0.8 Heartstarter Aura on the other tree. Either way, that is level 25 talent. That's level 15 talent. That's not going to change the hero. And if he's going to be garbage, he's going to be garbage anyway. Maybe if he gets to this point, you know, these talents are going to be a big buff to him. But even then, if you see the increase of these talents is not by too much, so I think Necrophos is not gonna change from his position in the game right now and in the meta, which is pretty much never picked. Night Stalker, Crippling Fear cooldown increased from 12 to 24 seconds at level 1, 20 at level 2, 16 at level 3, and 12 at level 4. So this ability was just a sick ability on one point. Just having one skill point, so 1 point wonder. Whoa, okay, oops. So 1 point wonder ability, but now 24 seconds level 1. That is so long. You know, the last nerf to Night Stalker really wasn't enough. I feel like they didn't really hurt him at all. He was almost in the same position. What they did was they just made it so that his darkness was not just a flat nighttime, or before it made it so that your night vision was just changed into a flat number, but now it is just a reduction, right? And that wasn't too major because honestly it actually buffed it for heroes that had 800 night vision, because it actually allowed them to see less during darkness after the change. But now they're going to significantly affect one of his major abilities, and then the void cooldown is also going to get increased from 8 seconds to 11 seconds at level 1, 10, 9, and 8 scaling. So it's going to stay the same overall when he's maxed out, but this is going to significantly affect Night Stalker's early to mid game, which is where, you know, he usually wreaks havoc. Oracle, Fortune's End cooldown, Fortune's End is no longer disjointable. I don't know why I said cooldown, and no, could be significant. You can't no longer blink dodge it or anything like that. Level 15 talent has also been increased from 90 GPM to 120, receiving the CM treatment, getting more GPM at level 15, and this hero also scales insanely well with items. So overall, solid buffs to Oracle. At the same time, maybe it will bring him in meta. Because I don't think he's half bad, but getting that level, But I also think Oracle isn't picked enough for how good he is potentially as a hero. But I think again his level 1 and level 2 is too weak. He hits a huge power spike at level 3 when he gets 2 points in the Searing Flames, or whatever it's called, Purifying Flames. But at level 1 and level 2 he's kind of a useless hero, and compared to like a Bane. But I think he has potential. But again, like things like Terrorblade and Huskar that Oracle used to like to play with aren't as good, so the hero isn't really gonna be in meta. The same thing with like Jug and stuff like that as well, and Timber Saws. No, the classic Oracle combo heroes aren't as good, so people don't have incentive to pick the hero, and even a hero like Dazzle isn't very popular right now either. If you want a save healing hero, you just pick Io. If you don't get Io, you just don't pick a save healing hero, because others are just nowhere near as good. Anyway, moving on to Pangolier. Fixed Rolling Thunder, having no effect on units like Primal Spirit Brewlings and Ancient Neutrals. Still doesn't affect Roshan, however. That's just a fix, so it's not really a buff or a nerf. It's just supposed to work the way it's supposed to work now. Phantom Assassin, Stifling Dagger Slow, going to be rescaled from 1 second L1 to 1.75, then 2 to 2.5, 3 to 3.25, and staying the same 4 seconds. Going to increase PA's effectiveness in the early game, maybe allow her to go for some kills early on. Still don't see it, but it's possible. His talent is going to get changed as well. Level 20 talent from double Stifling Dagger to triple Stifling Dagger. Triple Dagger, that's going to be pretty cool. I would say PA is still going to be PA. Relatively weak in the laning stage, abusable, but if she scales, she gets her talents up. Now, people don't usually go for the dagger talent, by the way. They usually go for the lifesteal talent, but make sure it's just unkillable. So she just goes in, attacks people, crits, heals up, and unless you have the lockdown to lock her down and burst her, she's always just healing up. It's insane. But we'll see what this does to PA. I don't think it'll affect her too much. Maybe we'll see the triple dagger talent more, but we'll see. I think for pubs it's going to be great. And people more likely to be out of position, underestimating the slow from the dagger, allowing her to pick up some, maybe some early on, some free kills. Phoenix going to have Supernova Stun Duration increase from 1.5 to 2 seconds level 1, 2 to 2.5 level 2, 2.5 to 3 at level 3. Overall buff there to the Supernova. I think Phoenix still has the potential to be a very, very strong hero, but she doesn't feel like she has a place in the laning stage. Phoenix is pretty much garbage. She does a lot of damage now with the Spirits buff, the Flaming Spirits buff, but of course you have to hit them. And at the same time, Phoenix has no lane control in terms of being able to, either last hit or deny. So maybe Phoenix best suited as a support, of course. But we've even seen mid Phoenix. This hero, if you have a team to play around it, and you have that early team fighting lineup, Phoenix is amazing because you have the team to stop the enemy from killing the egg. You get that egg off in the fight, you get all the flame spirits, and then you become an egg, and then you come out, shoot the flame spirits again. It does so much damage. It pretty much makes it so if you have your Supernova up, the team fight's almost unlosable as long as land all your spells. But before you get to that point in the laning stage, Phoenix is just insanely weak, and we'll see if the hero gets played or not. Moving on to Puck, who is complete out of meta right now, pretty much, because again, weak in the laning stage, doesn't scale too well either. I won't say weak in the laning stage, but I think the biggest thing is not scaling. Has bad matchups that is going to affect the laning stage. If you rather have heroes that can do the same thing in lane, but also scale better, like Alina for the mid lane. And let's see what they did to Puck. Waning Rift Silence Duration increased from 0.75 to 1.5 at level 1, 1.5 to 2 at level 2, 2.25 to 2.5 at level 3, and then 3 at level 4 is going to remain the same. So actually a significant increase to the Silence Duration, which is level 1 Waning Rift, making Puck's early game that much stronger, especially against heroes that have some form of ability, like Queen of Pain for example, in the mid matchup. I still don't think gonna make Puck too viable, but it has potential. I don't think Puck is that awful. You know, as a team fighter, as a slippery hero, you know, Puck still does what a Puck does. But the biggest thing was just, you know, closing out the game, ending the game with a Puck. It doesn't feel like you like that, but you know, I see teams like Minaski make it work, because they go for that Aghanims Puck, and you know, buffing up Puck like that, I'll guarantee you see this hero back. Give it to the Pinoy teams to pick Puck. They see that increase, they see that small buff, they're like, Puck, we're picking Puck. And moving on to Pudge, level 10 talent change from 5 armor to 30% experience gain, which he had some pretty good talents. And scaling up with experience is not bad either. But that rot damage is really good. I don't know if you skip up the rot damage for experience. You probably don't. I'm not a Pudge player, but level 15 talent change from 75 damage to rot slow. This Pudge, you know, who right clicks with Pudge anyway, but rot slow, pretty nifty. Actually, that's a hard choice now. I don't know, what would you pick? So I think overall this is a buff to Pudge, making his talents a little bit better, as otherwise you'd always go for rot damage, and you would always go for, actually, well, I don't know, you always go for rot damage, but for the most part you would go for rot damage, and you always go for the spell lifesteal in most games. But now, you know, there's a consideration to be taken into account. Now Ricky, base armor increased by 1, base damage increased by 4. Don't think that's going to make him viable, but it's going to make him less garbage in the early game. Now Ricky is a hero that is absolutely super trash hero in the early game. Doesn't do too much. Can't, you know, maybe as a roaming Ricky, you'll try to snipe the courier, you'll try to harass a little bit, but you know, he's so slow. He's relatively squishy. Even if he gets caught out, he's just going to feed, and then he has a sentry. But just any small minor buff to his early game will significantly increase his effectiveness. And of course, when he gets to that late game stage where he gets his items up with the Fusel Blade and the talents, you know, he's a ridiculous hero. Like arguably like OP when you get to that point. But in the early game, it's just not fun playing Ricky. But yeah, there's that there. You know, he's more survivable, does more damage. Can't say no to that. Sand King, he's going to do less damage. Base damage reduction of 3. Caustic Finale Slow also reduced early levels from 21 to 15, 24 to 20, level 2, 27, 25, remaining the same, level 30% at level 3. Nerfing Sand King's early game, his laning potential, and as I mentioned before, that was his strength. Shadow Shaman, base intelligence increased by 2. This can also mean 2 damage, of course. Also more mana. Hex mana cost has been reduced to 70 mana at level 1. 110 to 70 mana, 140 to 110 at level 2, 170 to 150, and then 200 to 190 at level 4. But that 70 mana Hex is going to be clutch. He gets more mana already, he gets more damage as well, as he's already one of the hardest hitting ranged heroes in the game. Level 15 talent increased from -4 Hex cooldown to -5 seconds Hex cooldown. Level 25 talent is going to be 60 ward attack damage to 50. That's a nerf there. That talent is pretty ridiculous, honestly. It's actually just a GG talent. If you get to level 25 and you get a refresher shard from Roshan, or you get a refresher orb yourself, it's actually just GG. If you drop it on the enemy throne or like Rax or whatever, it's actually undefendable, because you combine that with the +1 Serpent Ward's max HP, and the enemy literally cannot kill them in time, unless like the only thing that is there is the wards. But as long as you are fighting as well, you know, it doesn't matter if you lose the fight, you're gonna get the Rax or you're gonna get the throne. So that's a warranted nerf there. But I think the other buffs gonna make Shadow Shaman a stronger laner. The problem with Shadow Shaman is he's very slow, so you know, he runs the risk of, you know, maybe just running into a Clockwork and feeding, for example. But you know, I think with this buff up, we'll see him again. I don't know why people stop picking Shadow Shaman in a meta of Banes. And with Bane being nerfed, I guarantee you we'll see Shadow Shaman again. And the big thing was the nerf to his Ether Shock. He's not able to spam it as much. But now, you know, maybe he can just hex people and just punch them. 13-second cooldown, 70 mana cost, Hex, punch to the face. 100 damage per hit, I think. Silencer, Arcane Curse, penalty duration increase from 4 to 5 seconds. That's gonna hurt. That means that you gotta wait that 1 extra second before you refresh the Arcane Curse. And for heroes that want to spam their spells, that's gonna suck. You know, I want to wait 1 extra second. That's potentially 1 extra second where you're not getting spells cast in the fight, or you're just gonna keep refreshing the curse and taking a decent amount of damage, as they did recently buff the damage to Arcane Curse as well, just slightly. He also has a talent to buff up Arcane Curse as well. Sniper, Assassinate cast range increased from 2,000 at level 1, scaling 500 per level to just 3,000 at all levels, being the same as level 3 Assassinate. Level 10 talent has been changed from 15% cooldown reduction to 25%, which is, honestly, maybe legit. Because you get that for your shrapnel. You just have shrapnel up more often. It's a good ability to actually just shove lanes, increase your farm rate, or just even to use the scout. Overall, I don't think this is a major change to Sniper. He's still going to fill the niche that a Sniper does, but right now, Sniper isn't very popular. Spectre, going to have a level 15 talent change from -2 Spectral Dagger cooldown to -10 seconds. It says OP now. -10 seconds. What is the cooldown on that? That is gonna be 6-second cooldown on Spectral Dagger, and it lasts for 7 seconds. So that's pretty much 100% uptime of having phase move speed when you go for that. Holy. I don't know. I feel like that talent's sick. I mean, of course, you're going to have to take it over +8 all stats, but I think this talent is a 100% go. Because that, I mean, maybe you don't have the mana cost, or the mana to sustain that, but, you know, Spectre likes to buy into stats. So, like a Diffusal Blade, a Manta, and Scotty, you'll have enough mana with, like, all the stats increase. But that's insane. Like, if you ever enter a bad situation, you have this, it's so hard to track her down now. She's so hard to gank if she goes for this talent. Again, it's better than the all stats, because again, if they don't have the proper lockdown, she's just going to just phase in and just continuously just move out like she's a broodmother. Spirit Breaker. You can also use it on, like, to farm without being afraid of not having it up to escape. So, Spirit Breaker, Greater Bash, disable duration increased from 1 second to 1.2 at level 1, 1.2 to 1.4 at level 2, 1.4 to 1.6, 1.6 to 1.8. So overall buff to Greater Bash, having more disable. Nether Strike damage gonna get reduced at level 3 and level 2, but it's gonna stay the same at level 1. So 250 to 200 at level 2. 250 to 250 at level 3, but it's going to stay the same 150 at level 1, and I'm not sure why they do this. I don't think that was necessary. And the level 10 talent for Spirit Breaker is going to be from 400 night vision increase, which is a moon shard, to 600 night vision increase, which is pretty nice in terms of being able to scout for his team. But is that really the position you'll play Night Stalker or Spirit Breaker in? I mean, he's no Night Stalker. He's no Bounty Hunter. No, but if you do want to play him like that, he can lead the charge during night, and you'll be able to just spot out enemies during smokes and stuff like that. If you go for this talent, I think that's pretty good, because he's a basic nighttime hero, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1400 night vision with the talent, which is respectable. No, it's no Slark, but it's respectable. No Night Stalker, but it's respectable. I think that's pretty good there. Change there. Because 400 didn't feel like it was enough. We're moving on to Sven. Stormhammer mana cost reduced from 140 to 110, 120, 130, and 140. So now it's going to cost less mana early on to just spam that Stormhammer, which, if you watched how Ramses played Sven yesterday in the Super Major, spamming that Stormhammer to be able to control the lane, pile in that harass, I think this is gonna definitely affect that. It's gonna be a big buff to Sven in that sense, especially as Sven usually just keeps Stormhammer on like level 1. It doesn't max it out first, because you want to max Cleave as your first ability, so you can just farm. So I think this is a pretty big buff there to Sven. It's not much mana, but again, Sven doesn't have that much mana to work with in the first place, and any mana decrease is going to be a huge help to Herlick's fan. Terrorblade, agility gain, increase from 3.2 to 3.7. That's going to affect Terrorblade's scaling because he feels extremely weak right now in the early game, and so they're going to fix that by going, okay, if you can survive that, shitty part of Terrorblade, he's going to be even better now in the late game when he gets to that point, and he's going to scale so much better with Agi getting a full 0.5 Agi per level, which adds up as he levels up. Tiny, base movement speed increase from 280 to 285. Tree throw splash damage increase from 130% to 150%. Grow status resistance increase from 20 to 30, 30 to 40 at level 2, 40 to 50 at level 3. Overall buffs to Tiny, who has kind of been nerfed out of the game because he used to be a laning stage dominator with his tree grab. They nerfed that to shit. They didn't change that. They didn't revert that change. So this might make like a ganking style Tiny a little bit better with just that extra move speed. You can get in there, toss someone back. His tree throw does a little bit more damage. So when finishing off a kill, that's gonna be pretty big. And also status resistance, having a little bit more of it is nice, but of course not going to affect him too much. I think Tiny is still, well, maybe people kind of stopped picking him because they thought he was completely dumbster, but I still think he has his place. He's not as good as he was before. That's what happens with a lot of heroes, where they get nerfed and then they get nerfed significantly and people are like, okay, well, we're just not going to play it anymore. This hero's no good. And then sometimes they come back to it after maybe like a small buff like this, and they go, you can just kind of play him like this now. Maybe you can't play him like he used to be, but you can play him like this, and he still fits this role. So we'll see. Ursa, overpower duration increased from 15 to 20, so you can actually preload that and have it last for a little bit longer. Level 20 talent has been changed from +1 enrage duration to +1.5 seconds enrage duration. Slight buff there to that talent there. Compare it to the other talent, I think you go for it. Now for sure, overpower, again, not too big of a change. I think Ursa has the same problem he's always had. He can win some lane matchups, he can just completely dominate, but finishing up the game and actually being useful in the mid game with him, when the enemy team knows what they're doing, they're not just randomly feeding you kills over and over again or allowing you to Roshan for free. That's Ursa's problem. That still has not been fixed in any way, and he still has his niche of what an Ursa does, but we probably won't see him picked up every game. He's not suddenly just super OP. Winter Wyvern balance intelligence increased, or base intelligence increased by 2. This hero also not seen in the meta. Winter Wyvern is such an annoying hero, but right now, again, feels too weak in the laning stage. Still very strong in terms of scaling later on, as a Winter Wyvern always is. He's kind of one of those heroes where you need to kill. It's like an IO, right? Or Oracle or Dazzler. You need to kill, otherwise she's just going to turn the fight. With the Winter's Curse, and save someone with the Cold Embrace, and that's pretty much it. You gotta go for the Winter Wyvern, but the thing is, the laning stage for the hero, not too strong. Base intelligence increased by 2. Is that going to do anything? I don't think so. Hero is pretty much in the same spot. Just give her a little bit more int, I guess, early on. Wraith King. Mortal Strike Skeletons now have 30% magic resistance, which actually is really nice, as they were really squishy, and of course you couldn't control them, so half the time they would just go in and feed. They did decrease the gold that they give, so you don't really care as much feeding them. But, I mean, if you guys watch VP versus Secret, this hero is still garbage tier, honestly. He just doesn't do anything come the late game against real carries. If you're playing against some random heroes and they don't farm very well and you snowball, Wraith King feels super strong, but as soon as you get matched up against real carry heroes, the big boys like the PL in that game, he just doesn't feel like he does anything. He's a glorified range creep that can respawn with a free Aegis. His level 15 talent as well has been a buff to the skeleton attack damage. Okay, I don't know what any of this did. I still think he's in the same spot he was, but this is going to just buff up his skeletons. You might actually go for this talent now. That's pretty significant. Over 15 strength, you don't really care about 15 strength. Okay, that's a lot of health. Sure, 15 damage, that's nice. But having skeletons that can push out the lanes, like let's say you're playing against people that you're not playing against an Ember and a PL. I believe that's what Secret had. That can just counter split push all day. You know, the skeletons might be a problem, especially if you go for the level 20 talent as well. Because again, you don't have to worry about getting mana burn. Like, this actually could be broken in some fringe scenarios, most likely in pubs. But, you know, maybe, I don't know, you can never see it in a pro game. That last pick, Wraith King, all of a sudden, they have no answer to skeletons, and it's like a broodmother. He's just ticking a time bomb with the skeleton army just amassing and split pushing. I don't know. We'll see if that's a thing. Probably not. That's just a meme. Anyway, on to the last hero. Zeus, Lightning Bolt mana cost, going to get increased as they felt like this ability is too good now. Early on, it was 75 mana, by the way, for 125 damage. That is sick in terms of value, and that's why Zeus was played as a 4 a lot. And now that's going to get nerfed. So 75 mana to 90, 95 to 105, 115 to 120, and 135 staying the same when it is maxed out. And that's just going to affect Zeus's early game, specifically probably support Zeus the most, as he's not going to get as much levels as a mid Zeus. And that's going to be it for the changes of 7.17. Again, nothing too significant. We've seen some buffs to heroes that deserve them, but I don't think it made them broken or is not even going to push them into the meta at all, except for some cases. It's like CM, we'll probably see more of her. Probably going to see more of Enigma and some heroes that were broken, like Clockwork, or not broken, but like really good, like Clockwork, Lycans. We might see a little bit less of them, but now there's some unwarranted nerfs as well. I don't think Gyro deserved to be nerfed. I just don't think Io is as good as he was. Nothing too major change there. And again, it's gonna suck having less damage, but if you have a reliable hero that you're playing with anyway, you don't need that damage. It might mean the difference between a hero surviving with like 100 HP and getting away, or you killing them, but at the same time you're still doing a ton of damage and forcing them back. And Shadow Shaman, I think, is notable. I think he is relatively good now. I don't know about Spirit Breaker. Still think that hero's in a bad spot. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the patch notes for 7.17. Thanks everyone for watching. Again, I do these every 2 weeks as long as it's a significant patch. Sometimes I skip it if it's just like something very minor, just because I get lazy. But if you guys enjoyed watching, make sure you leave a like down below, but also be sure to subscribe, as this is not the only thing I do on this channel. I also have a bunch of guides with regards to like new updates, or also some hero guides as well. But I also am going to be doing a lot more casting on this channel, and most importantly, I'm going to be casting the qualifiers for NA if I'm not in it myself, because I am playing in the opens, and you know, who knows, if I find a good team, we might just make it. And I don't think I'm going to stream myself playing, because I think that's illegal. But I think I might stream myself playing the opens. If you guys want to see that, let me know in the comments. Yeah, if I see enough comments, I might stream it, because it's going to affect my FPS a little bit, but I'm playing 5 positions, so shouldn't be that big of a deal anyway. So I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks everyone for watching. It's Hachi signing out, and you've been watching The Art of Dota.